Chosen one, if you have been carrying that quiet ache of invisibility, if you have poured effort, love, discipline, and integrity into seasons that seem to swallow it whole, this message is for you. There are times when life does not resist you loudly, it simply ignores you. You show up, you do the work, you stay consistent, and still it feels as though your labor disappears into a void that gives no feedback, no applause, no confirmation, just silence. That kind of silence can make even the strongest heart wonder whether it mattered at all. The Leo full moon on February 1st arrives precisely at that emotional pressure point, not to soothe you with words, but to shift the stage beneath your feet. This is not a random lunar event, and it is not about hype ego or sudden applause. The thesis of this moment is simple and precise. The February 1st full moon in Leo marks a soul-level crowning. Not the crowning of your image, but the crowning of your heart. Not ego inflation, but earned visibility after a long season of shedding. Leo rules the heart, authenticity, creative life force, and the courage to be seen as you truly are. A full moon in Leo does not ask you to perform. It reveals what has already been built in the dark and brings it into the light without distortion. Think back over the past months, even years. How much have you shed old identities that no longer fit? Roles you outgrew but stayed in too long out of loyalty. Patterns of self-silencing, overgiving, or shrinking to keep peace. You may not have called it shedding at the time. It likely felt like lost confusion or unnecessary delay. But Leo energy does not crown what is false. It crowns what is authentic. This full moon arrives only after you have been stripped down to something real. The visibility coming now is not for who you pretended to be. It is for who you became when no one was watching. This is why the emotional hook of this moment matters so much. If fear arises here, do not misinterpret it as failure. Fear simply acknowledges weight. Even the bear pauses before standing fully upright. That pause is not hesitation, it is calibration. You are allowed to feel the gravity of this moment without shrinking from it. Gravity is what keeps you grounded. So let this symbolism settle in you. The sky is not asking you to perform. It is asking you to orient, to carry weight without losing your path, to accept that crowns are not light, but they are earned through endurance, integrity, and inner alignment. The universe may hand you visibility whether you feel ready or not, because readiness at this level is not about comfort. It is about capacity. Chosen one, this full moon does not inflate the ego. It tests the spine. It asks whether you can stand as a guidepost like Dubhe without drifting, whether you can embody the bear's steadiness rather than Leo's shadow theatrics, whether you can allow your soul to emerge outwardly now that preparation is complete. You have been waiting, perhaps without realizing it, for this exact alignment. The sky confirms it. The symbolism affirms it. The weight is real, and so is your ability to carry it. Chosen one, this is where the energy stops being symbolic and starts becoming kinetic. The Leo full moon crowns the heart, but a crown alone does not move reality. What follows is an acceleration sequence, and it happens fast. This is not a slow integration phase. This is a release phase. The sky shifts gears, and what has been building quietly begins to move with force and consequence. On February 3rd, Uranus stations direct in Taurus after being retrograde since September 2025. That detail matters more than it sounds like it should. Uranus governs breakthroughs, liberation shocks, and sudden clarity. Taurus governs money, self-worth, material stability, and the structures you rely on to feel safe. When Uranus moves backward in Taurus, progress feels jammed. You see what needs to change, but the exit does not open. Patterns repeat. Effort feels wasted. Resources feel frozen. Confidence wobbles. When Uranus goes direct, pressure that has been building underground releases. This is not a gentle release. It is a snap, a pivot, a moment where something that would not budge suddenly does. The timing is exact. First, the heart is crowned under the Leo full moon. Self-trust is restored, identity stabilizes. Then once the inner authority is reclaimed, Uranus releases the brakes in the external world. This sequence matters because breakthroughs without self-sovereignty create chaos. Uranus does not care about your comfort. It cares about freedom. If freedom arrives before identity is clear, it destabilizes. But when freedom follows a crowned heart, it becomes momentum instead of disruption. Expect themes around money, self-worth, security, and stuck material patterns to unlock rapidly. Old blocks clear, not because you fought them, but because the internal reason for them dissolves. You may feel this before you see it. Restlessness, pressure in the body, a sense that something is about to move and you need to be ready. That is not anxiety. It is kinetic energy returning after a long stall. This acceleration is shaped by tension. Leo does not move alone here. It faces Aquarius, where a cluster of collective, systemic, future-oriented energy sits. Leo speaks from the heart. Aquarius speaks for the group. Leo says, "This is who I am." Aquarius asks, "How does this serve everyone?" This opposition can feel uncomfortable, especially if you have spent years shrinking to stay agreeable. The resolution is not to abandon one for the other. The resolution is this truth: the most radical service you can offer right now is being fully yourself. Not a polished version, not a diluted version. The true version that has been refined in private. Aquarius energy does not actually want you to disappear into the collective. It wants authentic contributors. Systems do not evolve through conformity. They evolve through individuals who are brave enough to express truth clearly. Leo provides the courage. Aquarius provides the context. Together they ask you to stop confusing self-erasure with humility. There is a warning embedded here. Momentum without clarity becomes chaos. Uranus will move fast. The Firehorse energy coming online mid-February will move faster. If you have not claimed sovereignty over your direction, speed will scatter you. This is the moment to decide who you are serving by being yourself. Not to seek approval, but to anchor your expression so it has purpose. Claim your crown now so acceleration has direction. This acceleration does not hit everyone in the same place. It lands in a specific life area depending on your rising sign. Briefly, here is where prepared energy becomes visible. If you are Aries rising, creativity and joy come back online. What you practiced privately wants expression. Taurus rising, home and foundation shift. Stability restructures in your favor. Gemini rising, your voice matters. Speak, write, teach. Cancer rising, self-worth recalibrates. You stop underpricing your value. Leo rising, identity resets. You show up as who you actually are. Virgo rising, shadow healing completes. Old guilt releases its grip. Libra rising, community leadership emerges. Others look to you naturally. Scorpio rising, career visibility increases. Authority is recognized. Sagittarius rising, belief systems expand. You move beyond old limitations. Capricorn rising, intimacy and power dynamics transform. Control gives way to trust. Aquarius rising, relationship balance resets. Equality replaces overextension. Pisces rising, daily routines and health shift. Life becomes more sustainable. No matter the house, the unifying truth is this: what was prepared privately is ready to be seen publicly in the way that serves both you and the larger picture. Because speed is increasing, grounding matters. This simple ritual is not superstition. It is alignment. It stops you from outsourcing validation at the exact moment momentum returns. Choose any moment between February 1st and February 3rd. Light a candle if you have one, red or orange, if it feels right, but any flame will do. Sit with it. Place one hand on your chest. Speak out loud what your heart actually wants now. Not what sounds responsible. Not what keeps others comfortable. What is true. Then say clearly, I claim sovereignty over my life, my direction, and my expression. If you have oil or water, touch your forehead, your heart, and your hands. This is symbolic but precise. Mind, intention, action aligned. This ritual does one thing. It marks the moment you begin paying attention to your own heart at the same level the universe already is. From that point forward, movement accelerates without asking your permission. Chosen one, the sequence is clear. The heart is crowned. The pressure releases. The speed increases. What matters now is not whether things move. They will. What matters is whether you move as yourself. Chosen one, understand this clearly as we close this chapter. The crowning was never the end. It is the first domino. The moment your heart was recognized, the game changed. What follows now is not waiting, not wishing, not watching for permission. It is embodiment. You are being asked to live as the person you already know yourself to be, and to stop playing small in spaces that can no longer hold you. Crowns are not placed for decoration. They are placed for responsibility. And responsibility begins the moment you decide to stand fully in your truth. February is not subtle about what it wants. Once the first domino falls, the rest follow quickly. On February 3rd, Uranus goes direct, releasing months of pent-up pressure and unsticking areas where progress felt frozen. What could not move suddenly does. On February 13th, Saturn enters Aries, shifting discipline from endurance to initiation. You are no longer being trained to wait. You are being trained to lead yourself forward. On February 17th, the Aquarius solar eclipse arrives as the Firehorse year begins igniting speed, courage, and forward motion, while resetting how you relate to the collective. Then, on February 20th, Saturn meets Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, dissolving old illusions and anchoring a new identity rooted in action rather than fantasy. These are not random dates, they are a sequence, and you are meant to move with it. Here is the invitation that matters most. Let your heart be visible, not curated, not armored. Visible. Take up space without apology. Accept the discomfort that comes with being seen, because that discomfort is not a sign you are doing it wrong. It is a sign you are doing it honestly. Truth is rarely comfortable at first, but it is always stabilizing in the long run. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be real. Do not wait for confidence to arrive before you act. Confidence follows truth, not the other way around. Let February teach you this through motion. Say what needs to be said. Choose what aligns even if it feels unfamiliar. Step forward even if your voice shakes. This is how crowns become lived reality instead of symbolic moments. So now I ask you directly, what is being crowned in your life right now? Your voice, your leadership, your creativity, your self-worth, share it. Name it. Speaking it gives it weight. And if this message resonated, subscribe and stay connected, because this is only the first domino. February is moving fast, and you are meant to move with it. Many people expect breakthroughs to feel explosive. In reality, this one feels clarifying. You may feel a swell in the chest rather than a rush in the head, a sense of quiet dignity rather than excitement. Leo, at its highest expression, is not arrogance. It is self-recognition. The moment when you no longer need permission to exist fully. This full moon illuminates the heart space, asking one question. What part of you has been ready to stand in the light, but waited until it was safe to do so honestly? The crowning here is internal first. It is the restoration of self-trust. When you have spent too long being unseen, you can unconsciously internalize that invisibility, questioning your own value even as you continue to give. This full moon breaks that pattern. It does not shout, "Look at me." It whispers, "I am here." And that whisper carries authority because it comes from alignment, not from demand. February does not stop with this lunar moment. This full moon sets off a rapid chain of transits that begin to unstick life where it has felt frozen. Leo lights the fire in the heart, and then the following weeks bring movement to areas that have been stagnant. Decisions that lingered without resolution begin to tip. Conversations that never quite happened find their moment. Opportunities that felt blocked start to loosen, not because you forced them, but because the internal resistance has finally dissolved. This is the arc you need to understand. First, the heart is spotlighted. You are asked to recognize yourself without apology. Then momentum accelerates. February carries a distinct energy of forward motion once this full moon clears the emotional fog. It is as if the universe says, "Now that you know who you are again, let's move." Life unsticks not through chaos, but through coherence. When your inner posture shifts, the external world follows with surprising speed. Do not confuse this crowning with instant validation from the outside. Some will experience recognition, yes. Others will experience something subtler but more powerful: self-permission. The courage to take up space in conversations. The confidence to say no without explanation. The willingness to be seen in your work, your voice, your creativity, your leadership without shrinking or overcompensating. Leo energy does not ask you to prove your worth. It asks you to embody it. There is also a deep emotional release tied to this full moon. Leo governs the inner child as much as the public self. Old memories of not being chosen, not being praised, not being noticed may surface briefly, not to reopen wounds, but to close loops. You may realize that you no longer need the recognition you once craved, because you have already become the person you were waiting to be acknowledged. That realization is the true crown. As February unfolds, watch how quickly things respond once this inner shift locks in. Emails get answered. Delays resolve. Energy returns to projects you thought were dead. Motivation no longer comes from pressure, but from desire. This is not frantic movement. It is aligned acceleration, the kind that feels almost effortless because it is no longer dragging unresolved emotional weight behind it. This full moon also asks for discernment. Visibility without grounding can inflate the ego. Leo at its shadow seeks applause. Leo at its light seeks truth. The difference lies in intention. If you stay anchored in the heart, in gratitude for the path that shaped you, this crowning stabilizes rather than destabilizes. You are not being lifted above others. You are being placed where you can be seen clearly, including by yourself. So if you have felt invisible, unheard, or like your effort vanished into nothing, let this full moon reframe that story. Nothing was lost. Nothing was wasted. You were being shaped for a moment where visibility would not corrupt you. February 1st is not the end of the journey. It is the moment the light turns on and reveals that you are already standing in the right place. This is the Leo full moon crowning moment. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable. The heart remembers itself, the path unsticks, and momentum returns. What you built in silence is ready to be seen, not because you demanded it, but because you became ready to carry it. Chosen one. This moment is not random, and it is not isolated. You are standing on a bridge between eras, and bridges always feel strange to the nervous system. One foot is still touching the terrain you know, while the other senses motion, heat, and speed ahead. To understand why this Leo full moon feels so emotionally charged, you need to understand the nature of the year you are leaving and the force of the one you are entering. The past year has carried what can only be described as snake energy. Slow, internal, shedding-oriented. It was not dramatic on the outside, but it was relentless on the inside. Skins were removed one layer at a time, identities that no longer fit, habits that once protected you but now restricted you, roles you stayed in out of loyalty long after they stopped being true. Snake energy does not rush. It tightens, constricts, and then releases. It asks you to sit with discomfort long enough for truth to surface. That is why the last year felt repetitive, introspective, and sometimes lonely. You were not meant to sprint. You were meant to molt. Old skins do not fall off politely. They itch, they cling, they resist removal. And yet you kept shedding. Even when it felt like nothing was changing, everything was. You were becoming lighter, quieter, more precise. You were learning what could no longer come with you. This Leo full moon marks something specific in that process. It is the final full moon of the snake year, and it functions like a graduation checkpoint. Not a celebration yet, but a confirmation. A moment where the universe pauses and asks, did you actually let go, or did you just talk about letting go? The answer for you is yes. You let go when no one was watching. You released attachments that once defined you. You stopped chasing validation that cost you your peace. You chose integrity over comfort, more times than you can count. That is why this full moon feels like a threshold rather than a peak. It is not rewarding effort. It is acknowledging completion. Graduation checkpoints are rarely loud. They are clarifying. You suddenly see the year behind you as a single arc instead of a series of confusing moments. Patterns make sense. Delays reveal purpose. Losses show their function. This Leo full moon shines light not on what you achieved, but on who you became by enduring the shedding. Leo governs the heart, and the heart is where truth lives after the mind runs out of explanations. This is the moment your heart receives confirmation that the shedding is complete. Now comes the shift. On February 17th, the Fire Horse year begins, and the contrast could not be sharper. Snake energy refines. Fire Horse energy moves. Where the snake coils and releases slowly, the Fire Horse charges forward with momentum that is difficult to stop once it starts. This is not about recklessness. It is about propulsion. The work of refinement is done. The work of expression begins. The careful internal transformation gives way to visible movement, decision travel, action, and expansion. If the past year asked you to look inward, the coming era asks you to trust what you found there. Fire Horse energy does not ask you to recheck every step. It asks you to commit. It carries confidence, courage, and speed. This is why it was so important that the shedding happened first. Movement without refinement creates chaos. Movement after refinement creates impact. The universe does not accelerate what is unstable. It accelerates what is aligned. This is the core message of this bridge moment. What you refined in private is becoming visible now because the blocks to authentic light have been cleared. Visibility did not arrive earlier because it would have distorted you. Pause would have fed the ego before the heart was ready. Speed would have amplified patterns that still needed to be released. The snake year slowed you down so you could become unshakable. Now that the internal work is complete, light can move through you without obstruction. You may notice subtle changes already. A willingness to be seen without explaining yourself. A readiness to act without second-guessing every outcome. A sense that you no longer need to prepare endlessly. These are not impulses. They are signals that the internal brakes have been removed. When refinement ends, movement begins naturally. You are not forcing momentum, you are stepping into it. Emotionally, this bridge can feel tender. Part of you is still tired from shedding. Another part is already leaning forward. That tension is normal. It does not mean you are behind or overwhelmed. It means you are transitioning correctly. Reassure yourself with this truth: you are right on time, not early, not late, precisely aligned. Timing at this level is not about calendars. It is about readiness. The universe is finally paying attention to your heart, not because it ignored you before, but because your heart is now clear enough to be amplified safely. Attention follows coherence. When the heart is cluttered with old skins, attention would have overwhelmed you. Now attention becomes fuel rather than pressure. You will feel this as opportunities that arrive without draining you, visibility that does not cost you peace, and movement that feels exciting rather than exhausting. This bridge between eras also explains why you may feel less attached to old fears. The fear of being seen, the fear of failing publicly, the fear of moving too fast. Those fears belong to a version of you that was still shedding. The version of you emerging now is more rooted. Fire Horse energy does not erase caution, but it replaces hesitation with trust. Trust in your instincts. Trust in your preparation. Trust in the timing that carried you here. As February unfolds, remember this sequence. Snake energy prepared you. Leo crowned you. Fire Horse will move you. Do not rush the bridge. Stand on it long enough to feel the difference under your feet. Honor the year that shaped you quietly. Then let yourself move when momentum calls. You do not need to prove readiness. Your survival of the shedding already did that. Chosen one, this is the bridge between eras. The slow shedding is complete. The checkpoint has been passed. The next season carries speed, courage, and visible impact. And if there is one reassurance you need to hold close as you step forward, let it be this: the universe has not missed a beat. It knows exactly where you are. It has been watching your heart. And now at last, it is ready to move with you. Chosen one, the sky never speaks casually. When a moment carries weight, the heavens reflect it with precision. And this Leo full moon does exactly that. At 13 degrees, Leo the moon forms a quiet but potent relationship with Dubhe, one of the principal stars of Ursa Major, the Great Bear. This is not just astronomy. It is symbolism layered with instruction. Dubhe is known as a pointer star, a guidepost that helps orient travelers when everything else feels dark or unfamiliar. It does not shine the brightest, but it tells you where you are and which way is true north. That is the tone of this moment. Not spectacle, but direction. Dubhe has long been associated with leadership that carries weight without losing orientation. It represents the ability to hold responsibility without becoming lost in it. This is important because Leo energy can easily be misunderstood as performance or dominance. But when Leo is anchored to Dubhe, the emphasis shifts. This is not about being admired. It is about being oriented, about knowing who you are, where you stand, and what you are responsible for once visibility arrives. The star does not ask if you are ready to be seen. It asks if you can remain true once you are. The Great Bear archetype deepens this message. Bears do not posture unnecessarily. They conserve energy. They move deliberately. When they protect, it is not loud bravado. It is instinctive, grounded, and absolute. The bear represents fierce protection paired with steadiness, strength that does not need to announce itself. This archetype appears when someone is being asked to become a pillar rather than a performer, a stabilizing presence rather than a reactive one. Bears carry weight in their bodies and in their movements, and yet they do not collapse under it. They know how to distribute force. This is the kind of sovereignty being activated now. Sovereignty is not freedom from responsibility. It is the ability to carry responsibility without being crushed by it. Crowns are heavy. That is the truth most fantasies leave out. Visibility is vulnerable. Being seen exposes not just your strengths, but your humanity. When you step into a position where others look to you, project onto you, or draw stability from you, you no longer get to be careless with your inner state. The work shifts from self-protection to stewardship. This is why the universe does not ask politely at this stage. The question is posed internally, almost rhetorically. Can you carry the weight of being fully seen? And sometimes the universe hands you that weight before you feel ready, not to overwhelm you, but to activate capacities that only awaken under load. Strength that never carries weight remains theoretical. Sovereignty is tested by visibility, not by solitude. There is a misconception that being seen is a reward. In truth, it is a responsibility. When your light is visible, it becomes a reference point for others. People measure themselves against it, draw hope from it, or challenge it. That is why the bear archetype matters so much here. You are not being crowned to dominate. You are being crowned to hold steady, to remain oriented when attention increases, to stay aligned when projections intensify. Dubhe's role as a guiding star reinforces this. It does not move to accommodate confusion. It remains fixed, allowing others to find their way by it. This is the kind of leadership emerging now. Not reactive, not performative, not eager to please. Oriented, stable, trustworthy. The kind that can be relied upon when conditions shift. This symbolism is echoed powerfully in the Sabian symbol associated with this degree of Leo, a human soul, awaiting opportunity for outward manifestation. This phrase carries enormous depth. It does not describe a soul striving to be seen. It describes a soul that is already formed, already complete, waiting only for the right moment to emerge outwardly. The preparation is finished. The internal work has reached coherence. What remains is expression. Awaiting opportunity does not mean passive. It means poised, like a seed that has finished rooting and now responds to light. The Sabian symbol confirms what the sky is signaling through Dubhe and the Great Bear. This is not a beginning of preparation. It is the end of it. The soul has done its work in the dark. The moment for outward manifestation has arrived not because the ego demands it, but because the structure can now support it. This brings us back to the core tension of this moment. Sovereignty is heavy, visibility is vulnerable, and yet the universe does not always wait for you to feel confident before initiating you. Confidence often arrives after responsibility, not before it. The question is not whether you feel ready to be seen. The question is whether you can remain true once you are.